Dr. Sarah Chen had always known that Vertex Nine's toxic mists held secrets. After 3 years studying the frontier world's bizarre ecosystem, she documented dozens of unique species that had evolved to thrive in the swirling purple haze. But nothing in her research had prepared her for what she saw that morning through her filter mask's viewport. The creature emerged from the mists like a ghost, a graceful, four-legged form that seemed to absorb and reflect the purple light around it. At first glance, it resembled the native herbivores she'd been tracking, but something was off. Its movements were too precise, too deliberate, and its hide. Sarah adjusted her bioscanner, frowning at the readings. The creature's skin seemed to shift between solid and translucent, as if it couldn't quite decide what form to take. "Control, are you seeing this?" she whispered into her comm, keeping her movements slow and steady. The creature's head turned toward her, revealing eyes that glowed with an inner intelligence that sent shivers down her spine. Static was her only answer. The mists were notorious for disrupting communications, which was why she'd been assigned this solo research mission in the first place. The Terran Science Coalition needed eyes on the ground, and Sarah's background in xenobiology made her the perfect candidate. The creature took a step closer, and Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Its skin was rippling now, the purple-tinged surface flowing like liquid mercury. This wasn't natural evolution. This was something else entirely. "Easy there," she murmured, more to steady herself than to calm the creature. "I'm not going to hurt you. I just want to understand what you are." To her amazement, the creature stopped, its head tilted slightly, in an almost human gesture of curiosity. Then, before her eyes, its form began to change. Sarah's scientific mind kicked into overdrive, cataloging every detail of the transformation. The creature's four-legged form shifted and flowed, reorganizing itself into something bipedal. The process was beautiful and terrifying, like watching living art reshape itself. Where the animal had stood moments before, there now stood a humanoid figure. Its skin retained that strange, shifting quality, but the basic form was undeniably similar to her own species. The being was tall and graceful, with elongated limbs and a face that seemed to blend alien and human features in a way that was both exotic and striking. "Well," the being said in perfect standard English, its voice carrying musical undertones that made Sarah's ears tingle, "I suppose proper introductions are in order." Sarah's training warred with her instincts. First contact protocols demanded she maintain distance and call for backup. But something in those intelligent eyes held her in place. This wasn't some simple animal that had evolved in Vertex Nine's mists. This was a sentient being, one that had clearly been studying humanity long enough to learn their language. "I'm Dr. Sarah Chen," she found herself saying, "xenobiologist with the Terran Science Coalition." She hesitated, then added, "Though I'm guessing you already knew what I was." A smile curved the being's lips, revealing teeth that sparkled like tiny crystals. "Indeed. We've been watching your kind for some time now. Your species is fascinating. So young, yet so determined to understand the universe around you." "We?" Sarah's heart raced. "There are more of you." The being's expression shifted to something more complex, a mix of emotions Sarah couldn't quite read on its alien features. "There were. Once. Now." It glanced over its shoulder, as if searching the mists for pursuers. "Now I may be the last of my kind in this sector of space. My name is Lyra, and I need your help, Dr. Chen." Sarah took a step forward, her scientific curiosity overriding her caution. "What happened to your people? And why have you been hiding on Vertex 9? "Because they would never think to look for me here," Lyra replied, her form shifting slightly as emotion caused ripples across her surface. "The toxic mists that interfere with your communications also mask my energy signature. They can't track me here." "Who's tracking you?" "Those who would rather see my family's line end than allow us to continue guiding our empire." Lyra's form solidified, becoming more definitively humanoid. "I was to be the next empress of the Nebula Concordat. But there are those who believe our time of leadership should end. She paused, her skin rippling with what Sarah interpreted as distress. They developed ways to detect our kind, to hunt us. I am one of the few who escaped. Sarah's mind raced with the implications. Not just first contact, but contact with royalty from an advanced civilization. Her training told her to proceed with caution, but something about Lyra's story rang true. The being's obvious distress, the way she kept scanning the mists. This wasn't an act. "What do you need from me?" Sarah asked, already knowing she was probably violating a dozen first contact protocols. "Your help to reach the nearest TSC outpost," Lyra replied. "Your people's reputation has spread even to our distant empire. Humans are known for their ingenuity, their ability to overcome impossible odds. And right now, Dr. Chen, I need exactly that kind of help." A distant sound echoed through the mists. Something mechanical, something that didn't belong in Vertex 9's primitive ecosystem. Lyra's form shimmered with alarm. "They found me," she whispered. "I didn't think they could penetrate the mist's interference, but they must have developed new technology." "Dr. Chen." "Sarah, I know I have no right to ask this of you, but will you help me?" Sarah looked at the alien princess, then at the swirling mists around them. She thought about her years of research, her dedication to understanding new life forms. But more than that, she thought about what it meant to be human, to face the unknown with courage, to help those in need, even if they weren't from your world. "Yes," she said, already pulling up the terrain map on her wrist computer. "I'll help you, but you're going to have to trust me completely. These mists may be deadly to most life forms, but I spent 3 years learning their patterns, their concentrations. I know ways through them that your pursuers won't." Lyra's relief was visible in the way her form settled, becoming more solid. "Thank you. I believe I made the right choice in revealing myself to you." "Don't thank me yet," Sarah replied, hearing more mechanical sounds in the distance. "First, we need to survive what's coming. Follow me and stay close. The mists are about to get a lot thicker." As she led the alien princess into the deeper purple haze, Sarah couldn't help but smile despite the danger. This was definitely not how she'd expected her research mission to go, but then again, humanity's greatest adventures rarely followed the expected path. The purple mists of Vertex 9 swirled around Sarah and Lyra as they made their way through the treacherous terrain. Sarah's experience navigating the toxic atmosphere was proving invaluable. She knew exactly which paths would mask their biosignatures and which concentrated pockets of gas would interfere with tracking equipment. "Your knowledge of these mists is remarkable," Lyra observed, her form shifting slightly to better adapt to the environment. In the denser patches of toxic gas, she became almost translucent, her body naturally mimicking the surrounding atmosphere. 3 years of research will do that," Sarah replied, checking her wrist computer's atmospheric readings. "Though I have to admit, most of my studies focused on local wildlife, not helping alien royalty escape assassins." A mechanical whirring sound echoed through the mists, closer than before. Lyra's form rippled with tension. "They're using quantum trackers. My people developed them to hunt shapeshifters during the Great Purge. They can detect the unique energy signature our transformations create." Sarah processed this information with the methodical precision of a scientist. "These trackers, they're looking for energy patterns associated with your species' ability to change form." When Lyra nodded, Sarah's eyes lit up with an idea. "Then maybe we can use Vertex 9's natural phenomena to our advantage." She pulled up a topographical map on her computer, pointing to a region marked in deep red. "There's a zone about 2 kilometers from here where the mineral deposits in the soil create intense electromagnetic disturbances. The mists there react with the minerals, generating random energy patterns that play havoc with most scanning equipment." "That could work," Lyra said, studying the map. "But those same conditions would make it dangerous for you. Your environmental suit. has been modified to handle worse, Sarah assured her. The real question is whether you can maintain your form in those conditions. Lyra's expression shifted to something Sarah was beginning to recognize as determination. I was trained from birth to maintain control in any situation. It's one of the requirements for ruling the Nebula Concordat. Her form shimmered briefly. Though I admit, I've never tested my abilities in quite these circumstances. They changed direction, heading toward the electromagnetic zone. As they moved, Sarah's scientific curiosity got the better of her. You mentioned your empire, the Nebula Concordat. How is it that we've never encountered your civilization before? Our policy has been one of careful observation, Lyra explained, her voice taking on a formal tone that reminded Sarah of her royal status. We've watched many species develop, including humanity. Your rapid technological advancement caught our attention, but it was your adaptability that truly fascinated us. Another mechanical sound cut through the mists, followed by something that might have been voices. Sarah quickened their pace. Sounds like we're about to demonstrate some of that human adaptability. How many pursuers are we dealing with? A standard hunter unit consists of 5 operatives, Lyra replied grimly, all equipped with transformation-blocking technology and neural disruptors designed specifically to incapacitate my kind. And what about regular humans? They've never had reason to develop weapons specifically for your species. A slight smile curved Lyra's crystalline lips. They've underestimated humanity's potential. A common mistake among the older civilizations. Sarah was about to respond when her wrist computer began beeping urgently. The electromagnetic zone was close, but so were their pursuers. The mists around them had begun to thin, making them more visible to tracking devices. We need to move faster, Sarah said, but Lyra had already stopped, her form beginning to shift. Climb on, the alien princess commanded, her body flowing into a larger, more powerful version of her 4-legged form. This shape is better adapted for speed. Sarah hesitated only a moment before mounting. As soon as she was secure, Lyra burst into motion, covering ground with a grace that defied physics. The toxic mists streamed past them as they raced toward the electromagnetic zone. Behind them, shapes emerged from the purple haze, humanoid figures in sleek armor, moving with mechanical precision. Energy bolts crackled through the air, dissipating harmlessly in the mists around them. They're trying to herd us away from the electromagnetic zone, Lyra called out as she dodged another blast. They know it will interfere with their equipment. Then we're definitely going the right way, Sarah replied, clinging tighter as Lyra made another sharp turn. Just a little further. They crested a ridge, and Sarah's computer went haywire. The electromagnetic zone stretched before them, the mists here taking on a reddish tinge as they reacted with the minerals in the soil. Bolts of energy arced between crystal formations that jutted from the ground. Lyra didn't slow down. She charged straight into the chaos, her form rippling and adapting to each new surge of energy. Sarah's modified environmental suit strained to compensate for the electromagnetic interference, but held. Behind them, their pursuers reached the edge of the zone and stopped. Their tracking equipment would be useless here, and the electromagnetic disturbances posed a serious risk to their mechanized armor. It worked, Sarah said, watching as the hunters' forms became indistinct in the toxic mists. But we can't stay here forever. These conditions will eventually affect even my modified equipment. Lyra slowed to a stop, allowing Sarah to dismount before shifting back to her humanoid form. The transformation seemed to require more effort here, her body fighting against the electromagnetic interference. There's a TSC outpost 3 days' journey from here, Sarah continued, checking her equipment. If we can reach it, you'll be under coalition protection. Even if your pursuers don't respect human authority, they won't risk an interspecies incident. 3 days, Lyra mused, her form stabilizing as she adapted to the electromagnetic field. A lot can happen in 3 days. Sarah met the alien princess's glowing eyes and smiled. True, but they've never had to deal with a human xenobiologist and a shape-shifting royal working together. I'd say that gives us an advantage they haven't calculated for. A crystal formation nearby shattered as energy coursed through it, sending fragments scattering across the ground. In the distance, mechanical sounds indicated the hunters were trying to find a way around the electromagnetic zone. "We should keep moving," Lyra said, her expression determined. "I have much to tell you about my people, about why this pursuit is about more than just a royal succession. But first, we need to find a safer place to talk." Sarah nodded, already plotting their next move. As they set off deeper into the electromagnetic zone, she couldn't help but think that her research paper on Vertex 9's ecosystem was going to need some major revisions, assuming, of course, that any of this would ever make it into an official report. Some discoveries, she was beginning to realize, were too important for academic journals. Sometimes the real breakthroughs happened when you set aside protocols and simply did what was right, even if that meant helping an alien princess escape assassins through toxic mists on a frontier world. Night fell on Vertex 9, transforming the purple mists into an impenetrable black soup, lit only by occasional flashes from the electromagnetic disturbances. Sarah and Lyra had found shelter in a cave formed by crystalline formations, the natural structure providing some protection from both the elements and their pursuers' scanning equipment. Sarah worked methodically, setting up portable atmospheric filters around their shelter while Lyra kept watch. The alien princess had shifted into a form better suited for night vision, her skin absorbing and amplifying the smallest traces of light. "Your pursuers," Sarah said, adjusting the final filter. "You said this was about more than succession. What did you mean?" Lyra's form rippled as she turned back to her more humanoid appearance. "My people, the Nebulans, have guided the development of countless civilizations from the shadows. We believed our ability to change forms made us uniquely suited to observe without interfering." She paused, her crystalline features catching the light from Sarah's equipment. "But humanity changed everything." "How so?" "Your species evolved differently than any we'd encountered. Most races follow predictable patterns. Technological advancement at the cost of biological adaptation, or biological evolution at the expense of technological progress. But humans," Lyra's form shimmered with what Sarah was beginning to recognize as excitement. "You did both. You create technology to enhance your natural abilities while simultaneously adapting to new challenges. It's unprecedented." A distant explosion interrupted their conversation. The hunters were still probing the electromagnetic zone, looking for ways to penetrate its defenses. Sarah checked her atmospheric readings. They were safe for now, but they'd need to move before dawn. "My brother and his supporters fear what this means," Lyra continued. "They believe humanity's potential threatens our position as guardians of developing civilizations. They want to isolate Earth, prevent further human expansion into space. And you disagree. I believe we should reveal ourselves, form an alliance. Humanity's adaptability combined with our shape-shifting abilities." Lyra's form shifted subtly, unconsciously mimicking Sarah's posture. "The possibilities are endless." Sarah considered this as she checked her equipment again. The implications were staggering. Not just first contact with an advanced civilization, but one that had been guiding species development throughout the galaxy. "Is that why they're so determined to stop you? Because you want to change thousands of years of policy?" "Partly," Lyra admitted. "But there's more. Our shape-shifting abilities are evolving. Each generation becomes more adaptable, more capable of complex transformations. My brother believes it's making us lose our identity, our culture. He wants to use technology to limit our transformations, to force our people into fixed forms." Another explosion, closer this time. Sarah's instruments registered multiple approaching signatures. "They're adapting to the electromagnetic interference," she noted. "Your people really are good at evolution." "We had excellent teachers," Lyra said with a slight smile. "We've been watching humanity overcome impossible odds for centuries." Sarah began packing their equipment. "Well, time to show them what we've learned. The electromagnetic zone has a weak point 2 kilometers south. a natural corridor where the mineral deposits thin out. They'll expect us to avoid it. So naturally, that's exactly where we're going. Lyra finished, her form already shifting to better blend with the dark mists. The hunters will have it heavily guarded, Sarah continued, shouldering her pack. But they'll be watching for your energy signature, not for human technology. My atmospheric filters can create a corridor of breathable air that will look like a natural phenomenon to their scanners. And I can maintain a form that mimics the local wildlife, Lyra added, demonstrating by shifting into something that resembled the native herbivores Sarah had been studying. They're looking for complex transformations, not simple camouflage. They moved out into the darkness, Sarah's modified equipment creating a safe path through the toxic mists, while Lyra's transformed body provided enhanced senses to guide them. The combination of human technology and alien biology working in perfect sync. As they approached the corridor, Sarah's sensors detected multiple hunter signatures. The enemy had indeed predicted this route, but they hadn't predicted the particular combination of skills their quarry possessed. "Ready?" Sarah whispered, her hand hovering over her atmospheric control panel. Lyra's response was to press closer, her transformed body radiating warmth in the cold night air. Sarah took that as a yes and activated the sequence she programmed. The toxic mists around them began to move in new patterns, creating swirling vortexes that matched the natural atmospheric disturbances of Vertex 9. To any observer, it would appear to be simply another quirk of the planet's bizarre weather. They moved through the corridor like ghosts, Sarah's technology masking their life signs, while Lyra's shape-shifting abilities kept them hidden from visual detection. The hunters' advanced equipment, calibrated to detect complex transformations and energy signatures, completely missed the simple deception playing out before them. When they emerged on the other side, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "Simple solutions," she murmured. "Sometimes the best way to beat advanced technology is to go back to basics." "A very human perspective," Lyra observed, maintaining her camouflaged form. "My people often overlook simple solutions in favor of complex ones. It's one of the reasons I believe an alliance between our species could benefit both sides." They continued through the dark landscape, putting distance between themselves and the corridor before stopping to rest. As Sarah set up their next temporary shelter, she found herself studying Lyra's transformed shape, admiring the elegant efficiency of her adaptations. "Your brother," she said finally, "he's wrong about evolution making you lose your identity. Look at humanity. We've spread across the stars, adapted to countless new environments, but we're still human. Change doesn't erase who you are, it reveals what you can become." Lyra shifted back to her humanoid form, her crystalline features catching the light from Sarah's equipment. "That's exactly what I've been trying to tell my people. But sometimes it takes an outsider's perspective to make truth clear." She paused, her form rippling with what might have been emotion. "Thank you, Sarah. Not just for helping me escape, but for helping me understand." Before Sarah could respond, her sensors screamed a warning. Multiple signatures were approaching rapidly from multiple directions. The hunters had adapted faster than expected. "They found us," Lyra said, her form already shifting in preparation for flight. Sarah quickly checked her readings. "No," she said with sudden conviction. "They haven't found us. They found our earlier trail and split up to cover more ground. They still don't know exactly where we are." She looked at the alien princess with growing excitement. "Which means we have an opportunity." "What kind of opportunity?" "The kind that only comes from combining human ingenuity with alien abilities," Sarah replied, already pulling up her atmospheric controls. "How do you feel about setting a trap for our pursuers?" Lyra's form rippled with what Sarah now recognized as anticipation. "I feel like I'm about to learn another lesson in human adaptability." "Trust me," Sarah said, beginning to explain her plan. "They won't know what hit them." Sarah's trap worked better than either of them had expected. By using her atmospheric filters to create a series of false energy signatures, While Lyra generated matching thermal patterns with her transformations, they'd managed to send the hunters charging into one of Vertex 9's most unstable electromagnetic zones. The resulting chaos had bought them precious time and distance. Now, as Vertex 9's twin suns began to rise, casting the toxic mists in shades of gold and purple, Sarah and Lyra found themselves in territory that even the xenobiologists' maps marked as unexplored. The crystalline formations here were larger, more complex, creating natural structures that resembled ancient Earth cathedrals. These formations, Lyra observed, running her crystalline fingers along one of the structures, they're similar to the sacred spaces of my people. We called them star cradles, places where the energy of the cosmos concentrated naturally. Sarah scanned the formation with her instruments, eyes widening at the readings. The electromagnetic patterns here are incredibly complex. It's almost like... She paused, recalibrating her sensors, like they're responding to your presence. They are. Lyra's form shifted subtly, resonating with the crystals around them. My people didn't just choose to become guardians of developing civilizations. We were chosen, changed by places like this scattered throughout the galaxy. The ability to transform wasn't something we evolved naturally. It was a gift, meant to help us guide others. A gift from whom? We don't know. The beings who changed us left no trace of themselves, only these places of power and the responsibility they entrusted to us. Lyra's form rippled with emotion. But now my brother wants to reject that gift, to lock our people into single forms because he fears change. Sarah absorbed this information, her scientist's mind racing with implications. These places, could they affect humans too? That's what my brother fears most. Lyra turned to face her companion, her crystalline features serious. There are theories that humanity's unusual adaptability isn't entirely natural, that your ancestors might have encountered places like this during your species' development. It would explain why humans can integrate so easily with new technologies and environments. A distant rumbling interrupted their conversation. Sarah checked her instruments, but the electromagnetic interference from the crystal formations made accurate readings impossible. We should keep moving. The TSC outpost is still a day's journey away, assuming we can maintain our current pace. Wait. Lyra's form shifted, becoming more ethereal as she resonated with the crystal formations. There's something you need to understand first, about why I chose to reveal myself to you specifically. I assumed it was because I was the only human around when your pursuers caught up to you. No. Lyra moved closer, her form shimmering with intensity. I'd been watching you for days before I revealed myself. Your research, your methods, you don't just study life forms, you try to understand them. To see the universe through their eyes. It's a rare gift, even among my people. Sarah felt her breath catch as Lyra reached out, her crystalline fingers barely brushing Sarah's environmental suit. Where they touched, small arcs of energy danced between them. The resonance patterns you're creating with your technology, the way you've adapted it to work with Vertex 9's natural phenomena. It's not just science. You're doing instinctively what my people spent generations learning. You're proving that humanity is ready for more than just contact with advanced civilizations. You're ready to help guide them. I'm just a xenobiologist, Sarah protested, though she couldn't deny the strange energy she felt building between them. I study life forms, try to understand how they adapt to their environments. Exactly. Lyra's form shifted again, matching Sarah's human shape more closely while retaining her crystalline qualities. You understand adaptation, evolution, the necessity of change. That's why I trust you not just to help me reach safety, but to help me convince others that our peoples can work together. The crystal formations around them began to pulse with light, responding to their interaction. Sarah's instruments registered energy patterns, unlike anything she'd seen before, complex rhythms that seemed to match both her heartbeat and Lyra's transformative pulses. What's happening? Sarah asked, though part of her already knew. The star cradle is responding to us, to our potential. Lyra's voice had taken on harmonic overtones that resonated with the crystals. My people believe that true bonds can form between species when they're ready to evolve together, when they can see past their differences to recognize shared purpose. Sarah felt it then, a connection forming between them that went beyond words or physical contact. She could sense Lyra's thoughts, her emotions, the vast knowledge of her ancient civilization, blending with Sarah's human perspective and scientific understanding. "This is what my brother fears," Lyra continued, her thoughts now flowing directly into Sarah's mind. "Not just humans gaining power, but the possibility of our species working together, evolving together. The potential we could unlock." Their connection deepened, showing Sarah visions of possible futures. Humans and Nebulans working together to guide developing civilizations, sharing knowledge and abilities in ways that benefited all. She saw her own descendants, carrying both human adaptability and Nebulan transformation abilities, exploring stars that neither species could reach alone. The moment was shattered by the sound of weapons fire. The hunters had found them, drawn perhaps by the energy emanating from the star cradle. But as Sarah and Lyra broke their connection, both knew something fundamental had changed. "We need to move," Sarah said, already analyzing their tactical options with new clarity brought by their shared consciousness. "But this time, we're not just running." Lyra nodded, her form shifting to combat readiness while maintaining the resonance they'd established. "No more running. It's time to show my brother's followers what humanity and Nebulans can really do together." As they prepared to face their pursuers, Sarah felt the lingering effects of their bond. Not just knowledge and understanding, but a sense of shared purpose that transcended species boundaries. Whatever came next, they would face it not as two individuals from different worlds, but as representatives of what their peoples could become together. The hunters struck with overwhelming force, their advanced weaponry lighting up the crystalline landscape like artificial lightning. But Sarah and Lyra were ready. Their shared consciousness from the star cradle had given them more than just understanding. It had given them perfect synchronization. Sarah's modified atmospheric filters created corridors of breathable air that also served as refraction points for the hunters' energy weapons. Meanwhile, Lyra's transformations had taken on new complexity, her forms flowing between states with a speed and precision that left their attackers confused and disoriented. "Your technology can't adapt fast enough," Sarah called out to the hunters, her voice carrying through the toxic mists. "And you've forgotten what transformation is really about, not just changing shape, but evolving to meet new challenges." As if to demonstrate, Lyra shifted into a form that seemed to merge with the crystal formations around them. The star cradle's energy flowed through her, creating patterns of light and shadow that made it impossible for the hunters' targeting systems to lock on. "Stand down," came a new voice, deep and resonant with power. Through the mists emerged a figure that could only be Lyra's brother, Crown Prince Veller. Unlike his hunters, he wore no mechanical armor, his natural form rippling with barely contained energy. "Sister, this foolishness has gone on long enough." "The only foolishness," Lyra responded, her voice harmonizing with the crystal formations, "is denying what we could become, what all species could become together." "You speak of evolution, of change," Veller said, moving closer. His form was similar to Lyra's natural state but more rigid, as if he were fighting against his own transformative abilities. "But what you propose would destroy everything our people have built. These humans, they're not ready for the..." When the vision faded, Veller's form had changed. The rigidity was gone, replaced by the natural flow of a being at peace with transformation. He looked at his sister, then at Sarah, and his form rippled with what might have been laughter. "All this time," he said, "we thought we were protecting younger species from powers they weren't ready for. But perhaps we were the ones who needed..."